Hello everyone, Mecha here, and welcome to Fire Emblem 6 Chapter 7, probably the most dreaded chapter in the game, if not the entire Fire Emblem series, honestly. This chapter is super hard. Everyone who's played it on hard mode, or maybe even their first playthrough on normal mode, has been like, damn, what a chapter, what do I even do here? So the goal of this video is to show you an opening for this chapter that will help you get through it more often, more consistently. I say more consistently instead of something more appealing, like all the time, or 100% of the time, or as long as you don't get screwed, because honestly, it's FE6, something is likely to go wrong, and Chapter 7 is early enough in the game where you don't have a whole lot of different choices on what to use, but it's also far enough in that you can expect a reasonable amount of variance from your level ups, and that's even before something like, 60, 70, 80% weapon misses, or even 50% weapon misses. Enemies hitting you or missing you can change the game. Enemy stat variants can also throw things off, so I can't make a guide that shows off how to beat this chapter 100% of the time. Also, the reason I wanted to do this chapter is because I wanted to do an FE6 Iron Man guide, and I still want to, but I think this chapter deserves a video off its own that I want to refer to later when I do make that video. Because I think there's so much to say about it, even just about the opening. Like, I'm only going to do like 3 turns, really. There's so much to say about it, and I didn't want to just be like, well, kill the wyverns with bows, be very careful, use your good weapons. That's very generic advice. It's good advice, but I think it's not enough. So I wanted to have something more specific. So what I did is I played up to this point, very lightly raising my characters. Like, let me just go through my team real quick. So Roy has weapons for Zealot later on. That's why he has his weird inventory. He's level 5. Marcus is level 4. He has 1 speed level up. That's probably worth noting here. He has D axes as well. That's very important. Marcus has D axes. This is, I think, the only requirement for the strategy to work, besides the calves being someone trained. Lance and Alan are like level 5 both. With, I think these are roughly their average stats. Might be slightly. They're probably better on your file than on mine because I didn't play 2 chapters the proper way, so to speak. I think you can have them higher level at this point for sure. But I wanted to show you don't have them to be super high. But the more they're trained, the more reliable the strategy will be. Chad is base level, Lou is like 1 level and something. Clarine barely trained. Rutger has 1 strength proc and 1 speed proc, I believe. I don't remember how much they impact the strategy. Deke has got 1 level under his belt. Shanna has 1 level under her belt that was also trash. Dorothy is base level. Sue is base level. Saul's base level. So yeah, this is not a super well-trained team. If you've been playing through the game, you probably have an army better than mine. Although for this to be applicable to an Iron Man clear, I do think that more strategies would be welcome here. Because I'm kind of assuming that all these characters are alive and they're kind of hard to replace. Like, yeah, you can use Wolt instead of Dorothy, and you'll probably have worse results overall because Wolt's bases are worse. And then like what alternatives is like Lot, Wade, and Boris and Ellen can't really do a whole lot that these characters do. I suppose Ellen could replace Saul most of the time, but Wade and Lot are not going to be able to replace like a dead Rutger or a dead Alan or something. So I wouldn't say this is a great strategy for Iron Mans, especially because there's some unreliabilities because it's FE6. You're going to have to improvise your way through at some point. But hopefully it'll give you ideas that you can build off of when doing your own Iron Man. And if you're just playing through FE6 normally, casually, getting your first hard mode clear, or you're trying to get through the game, with just allowing resetting, then I think this is a very good approach to take. So shoutouts to Don and Irissa. I think I got the ideas for this from Irissa's clear, and then I think Irissa based their clear off of Don. So credit to them for helping out, directly or indirectly. And I'm sure one or both of them are going to post comments like, hey, actually you can do this and this will be even better. So look at the comments as well if you're looking for additional inspiration. But this is just what I've got so far, right? So starting information is fairly precise, so if you're looking to replicate this, be sure to pay attention to who goes where. First order of business, we're going to take out this Armor Knight with the hammer. This is why Marcus needs to have D axes. This is very easy to do at this point in the game. Like, even if you start chapter 6 with E axes, you can still get to D axes within that chapter. But I recommend building it early and nicely. So now Marcus is in range of this mercenary, holding his hammer, which is far from optimal. So before we do anything else in this area, we want to make Shanna re-equip his weapon. Now my Marcus did not gain any strength, so if he uses the Iron Lance here, it gets a little awkward. So I'm going to give him the Gant Lance instead, which is something you should do as well if your Marcus is at base lance base strength. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. So there we have that. And I'm also going to take away his hammer because he's not going to need it anymore. So just throw Shanna here. And now We opened the space up again by using Shanna for this trade, so now what we can do is drop Roy here, which is important because, as you can see in the map on the side, Zealot is going to spawn right beneath this house, and along with him is going to be Treck, and that's the main RNG component of this chapter. So we're trying to avoid that as much as possible. So we'll have these characters here, Sue and Clarine. Sue's going here rather than here so that this Armor Knight has no reason to move towards us. The less enemies we have to face early on, the better. So that's why we're doing that. So you go here, and we drop Roy over here. And now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he's going to be in range next turn. Over here, we have this Armor Knight over here. We can kill him with the Armor Slayer. I'm going to use Lou to chip him so that Deke doesn't take a counterattack first. I think Lou gets like a really good level up here. So obviously I have to play it a couple times. Okay, whatever, that's fine. We go over here, and then we have Deke come in and use the Armor Slayer for a kill. Pretty reliable, as you can see. Like, this part I would not be worried about. And then we can use Saul to heal the lost HP on Lou. And then Lou is in range of a Merc here that I do not want. Now, I think the original intent for Irisa was to put Ellen here to rescue Lou, or rather to cover Lou from this mercenary. This Cav is not going to reach because this Merc will be in the way. The problem that I encountered when I put Ellen here was that this mercenary would take the forest, and then this Cav would also attack Ellen from this forest, and it would make him harder to clear out next turn. So what I'm doing instead is a slight variation where I grab Lou instead, and I drop him like somewhere below. I don't think it matters a whole lot where. And there we go. And now they'll both go for Deke without Lou being in range of the mercenary. And Rutger just moves all the way up. And Dorothy can move all the way up, and Chad can just go get some villages. He's only deployed because there's treasure on this map that he can get, like the red gem and the treasure chests. But right now, we're not in a hurry to get that, so we're just going to go get some houses with him. If he's dead, then, you know, you like Boar's there or something. Now Deke is going to take some enemy fire. I do not believe these level ups will make a difference. There's the Merc. And the Wyvern moves. And Roy gets attacked. If he gets hit here, that's fine. It doesn't matter. We can heal him next turn with Clarine. There we go. Okay, now Zealot and friends come out. Well, singular friend, right? So let's go over this mercenary first. So the reason I have Marcus use the Gant Lance is because it does more damage than the Iron Lance. In fact, it does just enough to where you can kill with the Silver Lance, even with base strength. You might wonder, why not just use the Silver Lance in the first place? That would weaken the mercenary to a low health, and that would proc this priest into moving and healing him. And now you have to deal with this priest being closer to you, and this mercenary being at more HP, because healing would take him over 16 HP. So that's why that's better. Now, to remove this Merc, if he's at high HP, I would have to do something awkward, like have Sue chip him, or have Rutger come over here and help, but now I could just kill him with the Silver Lance, so we're gonna do that. So get rid of him. By the way, you can see like some of these hit rates are, like, they're reliable. Like this one was like a 79, so that's like 90 real. That can miss, and if that happens in Iron Man, well shit, you're kind of boned, aren't you? So these things happen. There's not a whole lot we can do about it. Just use attacks that are as reliable as we possibly can make it. That's about where it ends, unfortunately. Again, this is just supposed to be a starting point, not an all-encompassing guide on Chapter 7, but this is just an idea. Then we go over here, we talk to Zealot. And this will give us control over Zealot and then Treck as well. I think having the NPCs under your control early, even though it kind of puts Roy in an awkward position here, I think this is all worth doing. It looks a bit convoluted to get Roy over here, especially because I had to take some precautions with like the Silver and the Gant Lance and everything. But this is totally worth it, because if Jared is running around as an NPC, your chances of people dying is really pretty high. And you can use these units for like turn 2 onwards to do rescue drops and stuff. It's super helpful. Also, if Zealot dies, or Jared, I guess we should call him now, if he dies and you're going Ilya routes, then you don't get the good ending. So you're forcing yourself into Sakei route if he dies. Similarly, if Sue dies in this chapter, you're forced to go Ilya if you want the good ending. Something to keep in mind for Iron Man runs. So what I'm basically saying is you should be very careful with Jared over here. Now, he can't do a whole lot this turn because he has to talk to Treck, but we can grab some weapons from Roy, like the Silver Lance over here. And I think I'll try equipping a hand axe. I haven't actually tried that before, so we'll see how it works out. Throw him a hand axe, and then we'll talk to Treck. And then we'll throw him here. This will expose him to this wyvern, this armor knight, and this soldier. Not this archer though. And now we want to get Roy out of there, so we can use Treck to rescue him. And go back over here. This is important, first of all, because it gets Roy out of trouble. It stops this armor knight from moving. It stops this archer from moving. And also, it lets us drop Roy in a spot where you can grab Noah next turn. You can see on the right side of the screen, Noah spawns roughly below the arena. I think he spawns on this grass tile. So we want him to be in range of that. We can just drop him to the side like that. So we can go here, take, and drop. That'll do. And I think this is where we want Sue. Let me just double check that. So this wyvern has a steel lance and a javelin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2. So we can throw Sue here if he wants, but that will also expose her to the soldier. And I think soldier plus wyvern would kill her. So I'll throw her here now. I've seen a variation where Sue actually enemy phase chips this wyvern, but I forgot how to do it exactly. So I'm going to have to throw her here. You can experiment with that if you want to on your own. And then these other people don't really have anything to do right now that's like super useful. One thing I can do if I want to is I can give Jarrett the hammer with Shanna, and that would let him one round this armor knight in enemy phase, I'm pretty sure, which could be pretty cool. Right now he has a hand axe for me. I don't know how that will work out. I think the wyvern will probably end up using a javelin on Marcus if I had to guess this way. So why not? Let's give him the hammer instead, actually, instead of the stupid hand axe. Doesn't need the steel sword right now. Just fly out of here. I'm not sure this is safe. Yeah, that's pretty safe, isn't it? Yeah, that looks pretty safe. Oh no. And then, like I said, Clarine can heal Roy if he got hit by this javelin soldier on turn 1, so we don't have to worry about vulning or him being vulnerable. Not that he's in range of anything right now, but this is something we can do. These extra actions are probably helpful to you if you're trying to figure out, you know, some kind of problem that you can solve. Now, I know Eris had told me, hey, you can use Rutger to kill the merc on this side, which seems kind of good. But I noticed I had a bit more trouble with the wyvern on the left side than the right side, so I'm going to reserve Rutger for that purpose. To that end, I'm going to have Lou chip this mercenary. And then we're going to kill him with Deke afterwards. I'm going to heal Deke because I think he's in lethal range right now. Although, again, if he misses, we're probably kind of in trouble anyway, but we have some backup actions here, so we probably could resolve that if that does happen. So we'll get this kill over here. And now this is where the cav training would really pay off. Again, mine are level 5 with, I mean, reasonably good stats, like roughly on their averages, but they're not fantastic. If they have a support together, or if they're higher level, if they grew some HP, speed, defense, they're going to be significantly bulkier here. And what they can do is occupy this chokepoint. I'm going to do that anyway, but let me see, hold up. If I put them like this, yeah. If I put them like that, they should cover the wyvern range to the point where you cannot attack any of my fragile units like Lou and Saul. Let me just make sure that is true. Okay, so we can go for Deke if he wants to. That's totally fine. So we can leave these characters in range here. And that should be good enough. The armor knight comes in here. I think, yeah, Jarrett missed one on a hammer hit, but he has 13 base speed. He has more speed than Marcus, like by 2 at base. So that seems like a pretty likely occurrence. I don't know how this is going to impact the rest of the turn. I guess Shanna maybe could have died if they both hit her, like that armor knight just now and the soldier just here. But that was only because I was doing fancy stuff with the hammer trade. You can put Shanna in an obviously safer position if you don't do that. Okay, so the wyvern hammers Jarrett, or javelins Jarrett from pretty far away to a point where I'm pretty sure we cannot kill him safely. But we'll give it a try. There comes Noah. Another character that you really want to keep alive, even if you don't care about Noah, because he recruits fear, and I think a lot of people would care about fear. So obviously we're going to recruit Noah. I don't think it matters a whole lot where you recruit from, except this wyvern's range exists. So I guess if you're okay with Roy taking a wyvern hit, we can keep him here. We can also risk drop him out if you want to. There you go, that's Roy. I think in this position, the best way to go about this part is actually to retreat away from these enemies and try to single out the wyvern rider as much as possible. And instead of trying to attack him, although we can try, like, see what a combat looks like when we attack him. The problem is that he doesn't have his steel lance equipped anymore, so we can only hit him for so much damage because he's harder to double now. Like, Jarrett does it because 13 speed is 4 more than the 9 he has right now. But I think Marcus isn't double, for example. He only does 10 damage. I mean, 10 is a lot, but to have all these characters over here is obviously a little scary. But we can, like, pull away from him and don't be in range of anything else, just this guy, and we defeat him that way. But for that, we do make sure that this wyvern is gone, right? This one only has a steel lance, so he's a lot harder to, or a lot easier to kill. So Lou can obviously chip him for 8 damage. Rutger can deal anywhere between 0 and a 1-round KO, thanks to double killing edge crit. But on average, he's going to deal like a bit over 12 damage probably. So let's say he just hits twice for 12, Lou hits him for 8, that's 20 damage. Dorothy from there could hit him for a steel bow for 20 damage if you missed something already. Of course, this is a risky hit by itself, but it is 20 damage, so if you're really in a bind, this is something you can try for. I forgot to buy an iron bow. This is obviously better than a short bow for 8 damage, because the short bow is 5, whereas the iron bow I'm pretty sure is 6. So you might want to swap around the steel bow and the iron bow and the short bow if you're doing this and you don't have the second iron bow. But iron bow is obviously better. So you could do that. This is 8, so we're at 28 damage, which means like 5 HP left. So at that point, Deke could finish him off with the Armor Slayer. I'm sure Noah does like some amount of damage with an Iron Lance. You could train him like a steel or something, I guess. Lance is right here. He could hit him for 2 damage right now. So you have some combinations to finish him off with. Let's see what we get here. But this is definitely one of the dicier kills. You probably should use someone else before Lou. But let's say we try to killing edge. This is not going to kill even if he crits, but that's fine. We have someone to finish him off with. Obviously, Rutger and Deke can get in each other's way here, but you can rescue drop out with Noah. So, short bow kill. Thank you, Dorothy. Very cool. I hope that makes up for me killing Dorothy and my Iron Man several times. Okay, and now we have this choke point here with all these guys stuck behind forest into hopefully more trained calves. And there's no more wyverns up here. This one wyvern will not move until you get in his range. So this area is basically safe. We just have to make sure that these people don't get wrecked by the wyvern on the other side, I guess. So again, this is why your stronger calves should probably be on a forest, because they're going to take more fire. The idea of these strategies originally that you bait the wyvern out with your strong calf and do more damage that way. Obviously, didn't make that happen properly, but that is something you can do. Anyway, that is how I would solve Chapter 7's first couple turns if I had all of these units and all these weapons available. A couple end notes I should probably mention. If you have Marcus able to use the halberds, I didn't pick it up in Chapter 3, I forgot. But if you have it, I think you can one-shot enemy cavaliers in this chapter if they have the javelin equipped, which as you can see, they're very eager to do. This one couldn't attack yet, so he didn't do it, but he would almost always choose a javelin over the iron sword against these enemies, or against these player units. So halberd Marcus is very helpful. Don't be tempted to try halberd Wade or halberd Lot. They're going to miss and get doubled and die. Halberd Marcus is the way to go. Halberd Jared also works. He has D axes at base, so he's also very good at that. But he can also like one-round him with a Silver Lance, I believe. He's actually very good. He just has a slight skill issue compared to Marcus, but he's still very, very good and helpful to have around. Yeah, don't engage these enemies until you need to. Like, this Javelin Soldier is kind of a necessity in order to get Roy in position to recruit Jared on turn 2. But everyone else here, you should kind of leave alone as much as possible. I shouldn't even have done this with Shanna. I shouldn't have put her here. That's just like a fancy hammer move, which I guess it kind of worked out because it killed the Armor Knight. But as you can see, like, this entire group is mounted, so they can pull away from this group very easily and take out the Wyvern that way. If you can find a way to make the Wyvern end this turn closer to you, away from these enemies, or you can kill more of them or something, then obviously you can go on the offense with Sue hitting him for 10, and Jared probably is going to hit him for at least 11, and then Marcus can do another 10, and at that point you can maybe finish him off with something. If you have space for having Rutger on this side, then Rutger can help out with that. Again, there's a lot of RNG involved. Rutger's killing edge crit is a huge RNG. Hitting bow hits on wyverns is a huge RNG. And your character's getting hit, and hitting the enemy sometimes is RNG. But I think this is fairly close to, being reliable. It's still Chapter 7, but I think it shows the basics. And once the wyverns are dead, you kind of have control of the map, because the reinforcements only appear on turn 10, and then again on turn like 14 and 18 from the bottom with like a very clear warning from the boss, so you almost can't miss it. So you have plenty of time to like get the remaining villages with Chad, fight these enemies, get them out of here, visit the shops, kill the priests, get the treasure with Chad, and get through this door. Remember that there's a line here that you can see on the right side of the screen again, kind of around where the horizontal wall is. If you cross that line and you don't kill the boss that turn, then reinforcements will show up on enemy phase. Good old FE6 ambush spawns. Those will kill your units if you don't suspect they come, but they are kind of weak, so someone like Marcus, maybe with a barrier boost, can just kind of stomp through them very easily. So that is, again, something you can do very carefully. I think that's the main difficulty of Chapter 7, is the fact that you cannot turtle it initially. But hopefully what this guide will do is allow you to get it into a state where you can turtle it, take it slower, and go from there. That's all for today. I'll see you all tomorrow or the day after. Peace. Love ya.
Bye.